Welcome back, everybody, to the Calvary Podcast. I'm Hector Quito. I have the privilege to sit with the First Lady of Calvary, Sister Lourdes Suarez. How are you?
I'm good. Right now, well, physically, I have a cold. I don't know why. I get colds all the time now, but I'm good. Other than that,
It's, the first time you're here, obviously. Have you enjoyed the podcast like these weeks?
I have actually. Well, one, I love it when my husband is my favorite preacher.
Yeah.
He's just amazing, and I just love to hear him. And I know I have the privilege to not just listen to him in the pulpit, but I also get the privilege to listen to him at home, and he teaches all the time. Every time he touches a subject of the Bible, he's just passionate about it. And well, now I have extra to listen to,
Yep.
and I just love it. And it's funny because I listen to this podcast in my car all the time, and I actually don't listen to it if I'm not driving or anything. And most of the time, I'm driving with my son Jacob, and sometimes actually Jacob requests for us to play a podcast from the church because he also loves it when his daddy's teaching, and his daddy's a very good teacher, and he's a very good at home. I admire him because sometimes he goes and sits with because I have two kids, so I have to, like, when I work with my kids with the Bible, I have to, like, okay, Sammy, your turn. Okay, Jacob, now is your turn. I have to, like, divide because they're different ages. So I divide the time. I'm like, okay, just Sammy, it's your turn because you learn different because you're younger, and Jacob, you learn different because you're younger. I also read with him differently because Jacob's older and Sammy's younger. So it's whatever. So when it's Sammy's turn, and so Jacob goes, grabs his Bible, starts reading by himself, and then his dad comes in the room or something, and he's like, Jacob, come with me to the sofa, like outside his bedroom, and they sit there, and I can hear them, his daddy teaching him, and just talking to him, and so my husband is just a natural teacher. He's so, like I said, we get to listen to him in the pulpit, we get to listen to him at home, but then also we get to listen to him now in the podcast, and Jacob loves it. He's like, put a podcast on, please. So it's just like a family thing now.
Is he softer the way he speaks at home than in some cases, right?
Let's see, not really, because, like, a lot of people say, a lot of a lot of well, maybe I'm not saying, like, a lot of people say preach in the pulpit, they come down and they're a total different person, right? That's not how my husband is. So how he preaches in the pulpit, he does it at home. So it's my husband is the same. Like, you see him here, that's how he is. He doesn't change. So, and that's something that I admired of my husband. He, like, he's not different. Like, at home, maybe he's a little more silly. I know, I'm sorry, because
Yeah, that's where I was getting to.
yeah, at home he could be more silly. Obviously, here he can't. But actually, no. If you're close to my husband, if you're close, you have a close relationship with my husband, you will see that he is funny, and he's not, like, a lot of youth have come and told him, "Man, you're so different. You're so different from many other pastors. I can actually joke around with you." Or, there a lot of youth from our church. They can come and sit with him, and they feel comfortable. Like, those youth that are already close to my husband, they know that he is not, like, so tough all the time. Yeah, he gets serious when there's something that needs to be done, something that needs to be serious. But then he's always, like I said, how you see my husband here, you see him at home. At home, he can be a little bit more silly than, or I know I use the word silly. That's not a manly word. But then not here, but he's just how he is all the time. And that's something that I admire at him. And, you know, um, I can say that my kids, like, they don't see two daddies, they see one. And he's like that everywhere. And I'm so proud to say that.
We're going to get into fathers, and we're going to get into, all that. But just to go back, since you're a new guest, what's your earliest memory that you have?
Ooh. Well, I can't say the one that I have the earliest because we're in a podcast, and who knows who's listening to this. But if you're close to me, you will know some of my embarrassing moments growing up, because I have a lot of embarrassing moments. And I'm actually not ashamed to tell them, only that we're in a podcast, and this is just, like, who knows who's listening to these, so I can't really say it. But I'm not ashamed of telling my embarrassing stories. But let's see. Actually, in Ecuador, I think I was 4 years old, and I had my younger sister Nancy. She was like 2 years old, and back in the day, well, I don't know if now, but I was 4 years old, and for some reason, I had to go to my grandma's house. I have no idea why, or I don't know if I'm remembering this not correctly, but I had to go to my grandma's house, and my sister came with me. I was 4 years old, and I had a 2-year-old sister who came with me. We were walking alone, and this wasn't like my grandma's house like next door. It was like we lived in mountains and like whatever, so we had to go up a mountain, like mountains and stuff, and my grandma kind of lived like on the other side of the mountain, and I don't know why we had to go to her house, but we went, unless I'm not remembering this correctly, but that's what I remember. Me and my sister Nancy, who was 2 years older younger than me. I was 4, she's probably was 2, obviously, if she's 2 years younger, and we'll walk to my grandma's house by ourselves. And we are fine now. So I don't know why I don't know if they still do that, but yeah,
Yeah.
alone for a mile, for like 2 miles probably or more,
Yeah.
and up the mountain, down the mile. I remember we had to cross a river, all of that, and the river wasn't like a huge river; it was a tiny river, but it's just a memory that I have. And now when I look back, I'm like, I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, and my husband is like, oh, you should let them go across the street to the. We have a gas station, a 7-Eleven next to our house. You should let them go. I'm like, no. I panic. I'm like, no, I'm like, but then I think about it. I was 4 years old when my mom would let me cross the mountain, cross the river. And I don't know. We just live in a different world now.
Yeah. Now, before we get into, again, the topic, which we're talking about fathers, we want to invite everyone to just keep following us on social media, share this podcast, give us 5-star reviews on all our platforms. Again, we put this out to the feed. We put this out on YouTube and Facebook, and we're doing some good things there. And I thank you for everyone that follows us and helps us out. Yesterday, we celebrate Father's Day, important day, and again, we're just going to veer off a little bit from what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks. We will come back to that, but again, Father's Day was celebrated yesterday, and biblically speaking, a father protects, right, and a father provides and leads. It sounds simple, but I just want to ask you: is there more to that?
Well, those three things, and protects, provides, and leads. Like those are the main thing that a father does, and is very important. And like you said, it sounds simple, but it's not. It really not. It's not. And if you say, if it sounds simple, protect, provides, go to work, and leads. It sounds like, just saying it's super easy. But a father, it's not simple, because if you see, there's a lot of homes that don't have a father, because they started the task, or they realized before that, hey, this is not going to be an easy job, so they run away. They go and hide because it's not simple. It's not easy to do. And so, yeah, sounds, but it's not.
What does a father do other than, the basic principles here?
Well, the basic, it's the father is the strength of a family. It's the one that pulls the family together. I know a lot of people say it's the mother, but it's not. The mother, I'm not talking, like a mother does a lot of stuff for the family, and it's very important, the job that the mother does. But a father is the strength of the family, meaning that is the one that balances the family. If there's not a father in a home, actually, it's funny, because in my years of life, or my years in the ministry, or just in general, I've noticed, I can tell the difference if there's a father at home or there's not a father at home. So, for example, if either the father passed away and the mother never got remarried, or, and they're raising children, or the father, like I said, wasn't man enough to take the job, be able to do the job, or even if there's a father at home, but the father doesn't do his job and just lets the mother do all the job, you can see a family, because the family is not balanced. If there's not just little problems, because little problems are that's in everybody's home, but it's just like there's not a balance. There's problems from here and there. Like there's just like, if I could say all the problems that there's at home, the kids, like the kids life, you can see how their life is not it's not stable. They're not disciplined. you know like let's put it this way, growing up, they grow up, and some girls are teenage mothers, or they're not stable at church. They don't respect the church because they didn't have a father at home. And like Pastor preached yesterday, the father is the image of God. Like the kids growing up, a lot of times we bring them to church. Like, we gotta go to church, and I know, it's okay. Some kids don't want to come to church, and not be, I have little kids like, oh, church. It's not because, like, they don't love God or anything, because I can say, like, my kids love God. My kids love God. My kids love to sit and read the Bible. My kids love all of that. But sometimes it comes to a point where, sometimes one of them doesn't want to come to church. Not because, they don't love God. It's because they rather be playing or something, but so I bring my kids anyways. But like a father, if, they grow up, and instead of, falling in love with God, because, hey, my dad was this kind of dad at home. He was the strength. He helped us. He led. He protect. He provided. They grow up, and they don't have this relationship with God because they never had a relationship with their father here on earth. Like, it's easier for someone to fall in love with God when they have a relationship with their father here. Like, for example, me growing up, I had a relationship with my dad. I could go and tell that, hey, dad, I need $200. And it's funny because sometimes you guys will send me to ask dad for money, and I will go, and sometimes he won't give me, but sometimes he would. And but then I grew up, and my dad will yell at me at the same time, but then he will come after, like, hey, I'm sorry, I love you, that's why I did this, blah blah blah. So then I grew up because I had a father. So now I can look up and be like, if this is how my father on earth was, then I know my father in heaven is even better than that. My dad gave me like a little image of what God could be. So when I grew up, I saw this God. And I know, and now reading through his Bible, reading through his word, I'm like, oh my goodness, you're amazing. You're awesome. But like the father at home balances, gives the family strength, gives the mother strength, gives the kids strength. And I know I've heard the podcast before, and how my husband gives me credit for the kids I'm raising. But I tell my husband, I'm like, I can't do none of this without you. I can't. Honestly, I can't. Because it's not easy. It's not to go daily, because I try to do this as much as I can daily. Make sure that this is something that's in our home. Like, we have Jesus in our home. That Jesus is the center of our home. This is my goal. But it's like, and I have to do this daily. Like, I can't do this, even when I'm tired, I have to push myself to go and drag myself to their bedroom. Okay, kids, let's open our Bibles. Okay, kids, let's learn Bible verses. Okay, kids, now we're gonna pray, and let's pray the armor of God. I have to drag myself. Honestly, and sometimes, normally our bedtime is at 8:30, so I have to start this whole bedtime routine at 7. It starts with the kids brushing teeth, putting the pajamas on, and then after that I go up there and we sit there for an hour and a half, just working, just doing what we need to do. And then and sometimes we do just read books and stuff, and I have to drag myself going up there. I sometimes do, because all I want to do is just stay in my bed, and I'm tired. Sometimes I've been up since 5 in the morning, and all I want to do is just go to sleep. But I drag myself up there. And my husband gives me credit for that, but it's like, I can't do that without him. I can't do that if he doesn't back me up. If he's like, I can't do none of that. So he's just like, a father is the strength of the mother, so the mother can go and do what she needs to do with her kids and be the mother she's called to be. And so like I said, a lot of homes are not stable, they're not balanced because there's not a father in the home. And not just, like I said, some of them, the Lord took them early. Some of them, they ran away because it's not an easy job. And some of them are there, but they don't do their job because, like I said, this is a job for this is a very, like, this is like the father is the strength of the family, so that requires for the men to be strong. And I'm not talking about physically, none of that. I'm talking about like spiritually, emotionally, to be strong. So it's like, I can't do my job if my husband wasn't the father or even the man he is. I cannot do my job. I will be the same as everybody else. Like, even if I try to be the mother that I'm called to be, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. Like, for example, I see in life, I've seen a lot of, and I'm very happy. I'm so happy. I love to see mothers come to church. And a lot of the times, mothers are the first ones that come to church, then follows the husband. In some cases, the husband is the one that comes first, but it's very rare. But what I've seen most is the woman is the one that comes to church, brings the kids and stuff like that. But I've seen, and I love, and I'm not talking bad about them. I love those women. I admire them. I really do. But I see them. They come, but they get stuck. They can't move on. They're trying their best. They love God and this, but they're stuck to one level. They can't move up, and their kids the same. And that's because they need the father. The father, it's okay. The mother's there. The father push the mother up to be able to do the job. And just like it's, and a lot of, also a father does is direction, gives the family direction. Again, I know I'm the kind of personality that I am, like my husband calls, like, I'm orange personality, and I don't know if people know what that is. But it's like, I go with the flow. I don't like to write down. I don't like to write notes. I don't like to do lists. I'm not organized in a matter, let's put it this way. But my husband is the one that, and I could go with the flow easily. I actually like to go with the flow. But my husband is the one that gives me direction. He really does. And believe it or not, like, I guess our relationship has always been, we talk things about it before we do it. It's always been me and him where we talk things out. And he listens to me, I listen to him, but at the end of the day, who's the one that makes the decision? He is. And I'm going to be honest, sometimes I don't like the decisions. Because, let's put it this way, my pride could get in the way. I'm like, but that's not what I said. But he's the one that gives the directions. And he gives me the opportunity, he gives me the benefit. Hey, what's your input on this? I'm like, oh, you know what, I think that's good. Or, oh, you know what, I think that's bad. And then he's like, well, you know what, I think that's good, but I want to do this. What do you think? So basically, he's letting me go in, like letting me allowing me to lead with him. But at the end of the day, he's the one that gives the final word, and I have to respect that. And like I said, sometimes it's like, okay, I guess, whatever. But then sometimes like, okay, let's do it. But I have to make sure that I have to let him do that. And so, like, giving direction, like, sometimes, like, he's the pastor, so he gives directions to the church. Like, for example, I'm also a type of person that I don't like change. I can't, like, I don't like change. I really don't. I like things to be the same all the time. And like, when change happens, like, it hits me. And I remember growing up, like, when I was in school, it's a long story, but a big change happened in my life. And I went into a depression, and I didn't know what to do. I was out of my comfort zone. And I was like, oh, what to do? Oh, what do I do? Obviously, I eventually 3 weeks later, I was okay, finally I was relaxed. I was okay. This was good for me. And when the changes happens here at church or changes happen at home, I'm like, I don't know. I get like, but my husband's there with like holding me. So because imagine if he wasn't there and he will let me go by my emotions, because I will go nuts. And if he will let me go by my emotions, my home will be destroyed. Honest truth. But he's the one that directs our path. Like he, Jesus directs, the Bible verse. Man, I can't think. I was teaching my kids the Bible verse. I can't remember right now. It's in Psalms 23, but I can't think of it right now. But he leads our home. He's like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and here we are, me, Jacob, and Sammy. Okay, Daddy, let's go. Following him what he does, and at the end of the day, he makes our home better. He makes our lives better, and so like a father direction, the strength and the direction of the home. Lead the home financially, lead the home emotionally. Because women, we are so emotionally led. We are. And like I know he tells me I'm so perfect all the time, but I'm perfect because you don't let me go by my emotions. You let me, you like when I'm acting like I don't know, when I'm acting, I don't know, like a girl, whatever, like a woman, whatever, he puts me in the right path. He's not afraid. I love my husband, I really do, and what I love most about him is like he is not scared to put me in my right path. He's not. He's not weak. He's not scared of me, which is a good thing. Like a lot of men are scared of their wives. My husband's not scared of me. And I like that a lot. Because in my way, I can express what I feel, my emotions. I can let my emotions out on him. But he's not scared of the emotions, like all the emotions that I throw at him. And it's sometimes, you guys probably don't know me, but it's huge. Like it's like a bucket of water on the top of him. And he just stands still there. And then, it took me a while to understand him, but he stands like when I throw all of my emotions to him, he just sits there quietly. At the beginning, that will bother me, and then not only we were fighting because my emotions here, but now we're fighting because hey, you're not saying anything, you don't care what I'm saying. But the thing is that I will throw all my emotions. He will stay quietly there for like 1 minute, maybe less, and then he will be like, okay, and he will give me the answer or direction to my life, and that will calm me down. And sometimes he has said things that I'm sure no woman would have liked to hear, and I'm not, and that's good for me. It's good for me because I need it. I need it. And it's put me like in like sometimes when he responds to me, I'm like it shakes me, like I maybe my because I can't show my emotions. Maybe like sometimes he says things to me and I'm like it shocks me, and then I have to think about it, and like I'm like, oh man, he's right. I have to evaluate my emotions. I have to evaluate what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, never mind. And then we both, and this is just like things that has happened in our marriage. Like we have sat there together quietly, or like where he's just, we're just sitting there quietly together, and then I'm like, okay, you're right. I have to admit that what, that's true. But my point of this thing is that he leads. He gives me direction in my life, and my life cannot be my life would not be the same if he wasn't the one leading, if he wasn't the one giving me strength. Like I said, those moments where I'm just so tired, I can't do it. I'm weak. Sometimes I'm even spiritually weak. Sometimes I'm even emotionally weak. Sometimes I'm physically weak, but he's there. Like the other day, he tells me, he's like, we balance each other out. Because like sometimes when I can do it, he can do it. Or when he can't do something, I can do it. So it's just like, I don't know. So going back to the subject where, I see families here where the mother's starting to come to church with something is awesome, something great. But then if the father never shows interest, the mother will never get strong like she's supposed to. And as much as we can pray, I'm not saying that Lord doesn't answer, but there's the reason why the Lord said that they need a father and a mother. That needs to happen in a home, father and a mother, a wife and a husband, because the husband, the man, is needed, is important, is the most important piece that a home needs. Because the mother, yeah, we are awesome. We are awesome. You know, we are the one that gives the kids all the loves and all the kisses and all the I love you, and the ones that we spoil the kids, and the ones that, hey, we cut the grilled cheese, the crust out. We're the ones that make their food look all pretty. We're the ones that are giving our kids breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and reminding that they need to shower because a father won't. Well, my husband will, but most fathers won't. But the father is very important. I say, and I say it's the main piece of a home, because the mother, without the father, the mother's only going to get to one certain level, and she won't be able to achieve her whole purpose. The kids won't. There will be, there will be a mess in their home. The kids will grow up not wanting to know God because, hey, I never knew, there was such thing as a father. Now, why am I going to be trusting someone that I can't see? So it's just, I don't know.
So you started, obviously, single, no kids. To understand your husband was a tough job, and then you bring kids into the mix. What role do you play to now you understand him, but what role do you play now to help your kids understand the father?
Well, one, like I said, kids, for most of the kids is black and white. Kids, it's funny because sometimes kids just ask questions, why? Just for random things, like easiest things they ask, why? Imagine having a dad who's the strength the strength of the home and the one that leads. And now comes the father, and a lot of men don't know how to express themselves. It's not in them. That's the mother's job. So comes the father, we're going to do this, don't do that, this is the rules, blah, 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 this and that. In this house, we do this, in this house, we do that. We need honor. All of those words that fathers use, which is fine. Then the kids are left like, what just happened? Why is that like that? Why. So it's a mother's job to come in here and be like, okay, kid. Because we're more of a teacher. We're more of the teachers. The fathers are not. I'm sorry. We are, and that's why at home, we are the teachers. I don't blame a father who doesn't come and sit with their kids and learn Bible verses. Or if the kids don't know Bible, if the kids don't know Bible verses, I don't blame the fathers. I blame the mothers. Because that's the mother's jobs. We are the teachers. We're natural at that. So now it's our time, because like I said, the father, it's do that, do this, blah, blah, blah. They're hard, and that's their job. That's what God meant. So the mother has to come here and be like, okay, kid, this is what happened. This is what, your daddy says. This is why he's acting like this. It's funny because I've heard from my husband that Sister Ann used to do that with him. Because Brother Rito will come and, he's the man of the house, discipline, and I think my husband has said this. I don't know if he said it off the pulpit. I don't know if he has, but I know he's said it to few people. He's talked about a lot of, I can't think of the word anymore. Can't think of the word, but he's talking about something about being honorable, something like that. I don't think it was that word, but it was another word that he kept saying, you're not an honorable man, you're not an honorable man. I don't remember what the word was. And my husband didn't know what he was saying. He's like, okay. Then Sister Ann came and told my husband, and explained it to my husband. This is what your father says. This is why he's like that. This is why he's acting like that. To give the father grace. And it's like my husband, he always talks good about Sister Ann because Sister Ann was the teacher at home, helping my husband understand Roderigo or mi suegro. He never allowed me to call him suegro. But like at home, I have to tell my kids, just in general, like why. Oh, my kids have asked, like, why is daddy like before he used to travel more? Why is he traveling too much? I'm like, well, kid, this is daddy's job. This is what we do. But at the same time, yeah, we have to be here supporting him. We have to be on his side. This is his job. God called him to do this. He's not going out there and and having fun. No, he's over there ministering to people because that's what God called him to do. But then I tell them because sometimes they do say, and I don't know if I should say this. Sometimes they do say, my daddy's gone too much, but I'm like, oh yes, but that's that's what he has to do. But at the end of the day, he's when he's home, he's home. He has to leave sometimes. Like actually, this week he's leaving for 4 days, and my kids do miss him when they're gone. But I'm like, but when he has to go do his work. But when he's here at home with you guys, he's home. Some once in a while he has to take an important call, which we understand that. And I make my kids understand that. Also, again, I come in and be like, hey, your daddy, this is important. But when he's here, and I have to remind, because the kids, they're kids. But I have to remind them, like, who's the one that sits with you guys and plays, and is playing all that superhero thing that I never understand. And I refuse to understand, even though I have boys. They drag me into that because I have boys. And like right now, my husband's dragging me into watch something that it's so out of my comfort zone. I'm like, fine, I'll do it just because, whatever. But but I never understand. My husband's there, and it's funny because my husband will like go to the store. Okay, my kids they don't have this on their all the superhero things. This is the bad guy from this superhero. They need it. They can't fight if they don't have this superhero. So he goes and buys it to them. And I'm like, what? So then when I'm cleaning their toys, I'm like, is this good? Because I have thrown toys away that they were not supposed to be in the garbage. But the point is that my husband sits with them and spends time with them. And they, and it's funny because in Love and Respect, it talks about like a man, they can all just be sitting there together and not talking. And that's the best time they ever spent. A woman needs to be like talking. And then that's the best time they spent. My husband sits with my kids, plays. They don't even talk. And sometimes my husband is playing here. My Sammy, because Sammy's the one that plays the most with it, is playing over there with whatever he's doing. But they're all playing different. They're not playing to like a whole scenario, one scenario. No, they're all playing different things. One is lining up toys over here. The other, but my husband sometimes he's just sitting there like with the toys, whatever. Main thing is that's the best thing. When my kids love to do that with my husband. Every time my husband's like, go let's play. They go and bring those things because they love to spend time with that. But so I tell my kids, Daddy's gone. He can be gone for there was one time he was gone for like a whole month, like here and there. He came back, left. But when he's home, he plays with you guys. He goes outside with you guys. He's, we have family time together. We play games. We play board games. We watch TV. We do things together because when he's present, he's present. So, like, because they used to before be like, my dad he's never here. But I'm like, no, that's not true. So I have to put my kids in the right path. Like, no, that's not true. Because he's gone. He's been gone maybe for a whole month this time. But hey, remember, no. And then my husband makes sure that we have like vacation. Make sure that we're having vacation. And also because he needs it too. But it's like, remember that. So my thing is mostly I have to remind them that. And I have to teach my kids, this is why daddy does this. He does it because he's trying to do this for you. He does this because he wants this from you. He does this because he wants one day for you grow up to be an honorable man and man of integrity. Be a righteous man. So
it's easy at talking in just in the flesh and in general to take scenarios like that and put it in a negative aspect instead of a positive aspect,
Ooh.
right? And so can we go to that, talking good about the Father? Because it's easy to go down that road.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy because I'm sure you feel it also when he's gone. You feel it when, but how do you avoid that? How do you go on the right path about that?
My husband and I, we love each other very much, but there are moments where, like, obviously we fight and whatever, and sometimes, like, we get mad at each other. That never lasts, but we get mad at each other and, whatever. But the thing, my point here is that a lot of women live angry with their husband. And I think this whole issue is with this whole feminism rising. I think that's where it all started, with where women think we're better than men. We're not. And I'm not saying that we're less than men. Like, that whole idea that I'm better than a man, I'm more intelligent than a man, I'm more strong than a man, I am, what else did they use? I know better than a man. That whole idea is like, calm down. You're not. And like, that's what the whole thing starts, where they can't control their tongue because they have bitterness in their hearts towards their husband, towards other men, who knows? So it's like, and actually sometimes they have bitterness towards their father, so they take it out on their husband. That's actually another reason why a father needs to be a father at home and be a good father. Because if you're raising girls, if you're not a good father, you're gonna raise. Actually, I talk about that. I think I talked about last week.
Yeah.
You raise a girl who doesn't respect you, doesn't honor you, and so not only are they're not gonna see that in God, but they're also gonna see that in their future husband. Every time a husband acts, because they're not perfect neither, right? Our husband acts a certain way. That whole what's it called? If not, they're not healed. Though they're gonna have like a what's it called? They're gonna remember all of that bad things that their dad did to them, and they're gonna take it out on their father. And but then going back, this whole generation of feminism, where the women, we're gonna be better than men. It's not even trying to be equal than men.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be better than the men. Like, we're not. We need them. I need my husband. I really do. I need him to guide me. I hate when he hates when I say this to him, but like, he's smarter than me. He's gonna get mad at me when I say that. But it's like that whole idea. I am better. I'm more intelligent. So if the husband says something, or because makes a mistake or something, ooh, those women, like, they're like hyenas. They go right on him on that. Like, makes a mistake or speaks something differently, or I don't even know. Like, just whatever. They go and just devour him, and not only with what the people around, but they go and devour him in front of the kids, and that they yell at him. Like, at my home, and maybe I'm talking too much about my home, sorry, but it's like, if my husband and I fight, obviously here discussion, here disagreements, plan that fight, we don't do it in front of our kids. Once, we never call each other names. Okay, so we don't call each other's name at all. That's, I don't call my husband stupid, I don't call him whatever. Like, that's not me. Not even playing, not even that. We don't do that. But like, the wife, a normal wife is like, they get mad at their husband because the husband didn't. Oh, this is a good one. The husband didn't put their clothes in the dirty pile. They go on him. They yell at him, and in Spanish it's called no sirves para nada. You're not worth anything. You know, you can't even put your clothes in the correct place. And okay, I have to admit, like, I don't, like, one, I don't do that with my husband too, but like, it's like, come on, you're not that clean either. You know what I mean? You sometimes misplace things here and there, so give your husband grace. You know, it's like, and it's just give your husband grace. He didn't do it, you know, just go do it yourself. ¿Qué te cuesta? You know, just go pick it up, put it there. You know, he's picking up some stuff from you, and he's not saying anything about that. But going back with the kids, you know, it's like they go off and they use your kid as a what's it called,
A sounding
counseling,
board.
like someone like they need to like let everything out. You know, they're hurt or whatever. The husband didn't do something for them, and they go and open up to their kids. I'm like, don't do that. Your kids don't need to listen to that garbage. If there is whatever you saying, the garbage is coming out of your mouth, basically. It's like, go, if you really, like, if your marriage is really bad, go to a counselor. Go talk to a professional one. Don't do it with your kids. Your kids don't need to listen to that. You're ruining their lives. You're ruining, like, if it's a boy, you know, it's like he's not going to respect his dad. And then he's going to grow up because his dad is going to tell him, hey, be honorable. But then he's heard all of this garbage from you. He's like, why? You're not. You know, it's like, and then they grow up and they're not honorable. Because the mother just put garbage in their mouth, in their heads, I mean. And then they grow the same thing. Garbage about the husband. My husband doesn't do this for me. And I've heard, like, I have heard to the point where they talk like more R-rated with their whatever with their kids, and they just let everything out, and then they grow up and like, why is my daughter like that? Why is my son like that? It's like, because you, and then and the funny thing is then they blame it on the husband because you were in there. Yeah. I'm like, well, you didn't let him be there. So like at the beginning we talked about how the man is the direction and how he is the strength of the family. And, you know, and I talked about how a lot of men who are home are not, they don't take up their job as a father. And sometimes, not all the time, sometimes it's just because of them, but sometimes it's because the mother doesn't let it. The mother thinks she knows it all, thinks she's better than him. Who needs a man? They do need him to be there for some reason, but then those mothers don't let him be the father of the children. And I've seen a lot of lives be destroyed because of that. So we mothers need to be careful what we say to our kids, speak to our kids. Like, that's why, my main job with my kids is talk positive of my husband to my kids. Like I sometimes do tell my kids, I'm like, he's so strong. He's our superhero. And I tell my kids, like, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have this life if it wasn't for him. And sometimes I do go more materialistic and be like, look at this house. We wouldn't have this house because, if your daddy wouldn't work so hard. We wouldn't have the life, he spends time together with us. It's just positive. And sometimes they don't even ask for it, and I just say it anyways. Because it's good to talk good about their father. That's why, in that way, the father can do his job. Strength and direction. Provide and protect and lead.
Yeah. Now, just to wrap up, I know we've touched a lot of good subjects, but backing up the father, Now, we talked about it, but again, just speak to the importance of that. To you don't always agree, but you're gonna go with it, and can you speak to that?
Yeah. So a lot of mothers complain, and one of the main complaints, like, mi esposo, like, my husband never is. He always goes against me. But then it comes where the husband comes and be like, hey, kids, don't do that, you're gonna be punished, blah blah blah. And then the mother comes in, you're not gonna touch my baby. Or the father, like, I don't know if people do it at home, like, oh, I'm gonna spank the kid. The father goes in to spank the kid, and then the mother comes in and pushes the kid out of the way and be like, you're not gonna touch my baby. And I've heard a lot of people say, like, it's because you did not carry them 9 months, or, and you did not do all the hard job carrying them and giving them birth, so you're not gonna touch them, they're my kids. And again, how can a father lead? How can a father protect? How can a father give direction or be the strength of the family when the mother doesn't let him? So it's like, it's important to back the father up, even if you disagree with it. Like, you can go ask him, like, hey, if you disagree with something after the husband does what he needs to do, ask him, hey, why did you do that? Don't, and a lot of people think, a lot of people have made a mistake where the father disciplines a kid or does what he needs to do with the kid, and they do try to do the right thing, and they go to a room, and instead of asking him, why did you do that, they tell him, don't do that. There's a difference. Even though you didn't do it in front of the kids, you're still kind of not helping him in private neither, because now it's like, it throws in the towel. I'm like, I can't do that anymore neither then. So it's asking, why did you do that?
So even the wordage is important.
Yeah. Why did you do that? Again, mothers, we need to let our husbands direct our path, direct our ways, direct how to lead our home. And then obviously the husband will explain, because this is blah blah blah, whatever. Or even, like, I don't know who's listening, but it's like, why did you spank him like that? And then, and discuss about it, and be like, I'm not saying don't say it, and like, but at the end be like, can we do something different? Should we do something different? It's very important, like your words. And how you talk to your husband. The husband needs respect, even in private. Even if your kids are not watching you. Even if no one's watching you. He deserves your respect in private. How you talk to him in private. And, like, I don't think I've never had my husband, I've never had to tell my husband that if my husband either does something with my kids, discipline, some type of discipline, I've never had to tell him. I just like, well, he knows what he's doing. If, my kids, actually I think I'm harder on my kids than my husband is, but it's like, he knows what he's doing. I'm not going to get in the way. And like, I trust him. So that's another thing, is like, trust your husband. You trust him with everything else. You trust him to go to work for you. You trust him to lead the home, like whatever. Just trust him. Put some trust in him. Trust him with your kids. Believe it or not, he does love those kids. And that's why he goes to work. Maybe he didn't put out that 9 months. That he didn't carry the baby 9 months. Maybe he didn't suffer at childbirth. Maybe his body is not destroyed because of carrying big kids or whatever, and maybe whatever. But he does love those kids. And I know that my husband loves my kids, so whatever he does with my kids, I'm like, fine. I trust you. He loves them. He's not gonna go against my kids to destroy their lives. So if he has to spank my kids, I just sit there and I just watch. And my kids do look. The funny thing is, this is the funny thing though. A kid will look at the mother for the mother, because they know what they're doing too. A kid will look at the mother with, in their eyes, calling for like, come and save me. Because my kids have done that. They look at me, and I just sit there. I'm sitting there like, okay, that's fine. But the kids will look at the mom. So moms, and I know, like, some moms get their, it's hard to see your kids. Even when I spank my kids, it hurts me. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, my kids do look at me, and I see their eyes. All they want is screaming with their eyes, save me, save me. But I don't. because I know my husband loves them too, and I'm watching there too. So my husband's not doing anything that I won't do. So it's like it's very important to back the husband up. Trust him with your kids. You know, he didn't, like I said, he didn't put all the time. You know, his body didn't get destroyed, but he still loves them, and his body didn't get destroyed, but he's working so hard for them. You know, he's I don't know, like working so hard. I remember when I told my husband that I was pregnant, he didn't talk to me for a whole week. And I did actually. At that point, I cried, and I went in and I told him, I'm like, I'm sorry, I got pregnant. I did. I'm sorry. You know, I should have taken better care of me, blah, blah, blah. But I thought he was upset or he didn't like the idea that I was pregnant. But this whole time, he was like, am I going to be a good father? He was like, not only like, am I going to be a good father, but now I have to work. Now I have to, you know, and especially during that time, our finances weren't that perfect neither. And he's like, okay, now, but he's being a father already. He didn't carry the kid. I was 4 weeks pregnant. When I found out. But my husband, let's say that he was pregnant along with me. Because now he's worried, okay, now he's thinking the future of my kids. How am I going to provide for my kids? So, yeah, the baby wasn't in him for 9 months. But for those 9 months that you were pregnant, he was also working hard to be able to provide for that kid. Provide not only for that kid, but for you when that baby was born. So it's like, don't assume that because he didn't carry your kid for 9 months, that doesn't mean that, you know, you're better than him. That you're more of a parent than he is. So, yeah.
So again, we touched a lot of things, and I think it's needed in the day we live in. I think it's needed in the time we live in. The importance of a father, but the importance of a mother here. Let's help the father out. Let's push the father forward instead of being a stumbling block. Let's be something that lifts him up. So I think that was important. But thank you for taking some time to talk to us. And as we close again, we invite everyone to follow us on social media. Give us a 5-star review again on all our platforms, and just share help us by sharing. And we hope to see you next week here on the Calvary Podcast.